there's been a really quick sort of like rush to applause Stacey Abrams, particularly for single-handedly saving Georgia and saving democracy, because helping Georgia with their ballot turnout um, turn and flip from red to blue. I mean, of course, we still don't know. There's still some Senate races that are very contested, and Democrats are relying on Donald Trump to continue punching himself in the face for that to continue to hurt down ballot somehow. And then for those Senate races that Republicans are trying to keep to lose, that way Democrats gain in the Senate, and then with Kamala Harris as the tiebreaker, they could actually, have a functioning goddamn government. But that's built on a lot of like really like smooth brain assumptions. At the same time, smooth brain assumptions that got people believing that that Joe Biden was going to win in a landslide. So I'm not going to really trust that for a grain of salt. But it's also the smooth brain assumption that we've seen not play out. We've seen absolutely not play out in this election cycle so far, which is to suggest that somehow there are enough people who are repelled by Republicans like Donald Trump that they'll turn against the entire party. When what you've really seen is, okay, maybe some people might be repelled against Donald Trump, the Republican, but they'll still be likely to vote Republican down ballot. Or they'll see him as an aberration and see the media overworkingness around him as something that is you don't have to pay much attention to, and you'll continue to vote for Republicans down ballot now that he's gone, especially because you'll be afraid of the Democratic socialist Maoist Joe Biden, and you'll want to believe that having a Republican in there will balance out the party, when in reality it'll just create more gridlock. So there's this whole thing that's happening because, of course, like if Kamala Harris is the first vice president, they have this whole episode about why, like, okay, we can celebrate she's a black woman being the first vice president and also point out that she's a cop. Like, we are no longer allowed to have these conversations because it's like, yes, this black woman, Stacey Abrams, who allowed the Republicans to gerrymander in her state when she had the power to do anything about it, is now some queen for single-handedly winning 800,000 votes in the state of Georgia, when there are multiple different organizations that, to her credit, Stacey Abrams mentioned, like the Fair Fight. There is Southern Economic Advancement Project. There's New Georgia Project. There's all these different programs and grassroots movements that have been moving to get out the vote in Georgia that Stacey Abrams helped work towards. But all this is towards making like the idea that Stacey Abrams should be the new face of the Democratic Party, that we will symbolically have a black woman in charge, and that seems to be the Democrats' new band-aid to fix problems. Here's a black woman to fix it. Here's a black woman to fix it. Never mind the politics of that particular person and whether or not they will continue the policies of white supremacy or actually help to bring equity to their communities. It's just, hey, here's a black person. Yes, queen, let's go to brunch. We did it. It's again, asinine that the Democrats are right back at this. It shows they've always wanted to do this. This is the identity politics shit is the only thing they know how to do well, because to offer anything even slightly tangibly to everyone else in America would mean they would have to give up like some money. They'd have to give up the game that they are not opposed to Republicans and wanting to make sure that wealth is hoarded to the top, and we get to just lovingly look at Nancy Pelosi's full-on refrigerator full of ice cream while people are starving to death on the street. Like, is that the America that Democrats want? It appears so, because this whole Stacey Abrams narrative that like this is going to be the savior, yay, all of this stuff is so brain dead, and just goes against. It goes to show what kind of airheads in the Democratic Party that the left is going to be fighting for the next 4 years. Well, let's get someone besides Bam here. Like, let's see.
Did we win for real? Jesus Christ!
I want to know what Sean has. I want to know what Sean has to say to that.
Well, Democrats have been playing identity politics forever because everybody's so excited about like Kamala getting in, excited about Stacey Abrams, and this has been going on for a long time. And I'm like, what are the policies of these people? Look up what they actually believe in. What are they going to do? Are they actually going to fight for you? Do they have all these corporate ties? Blah, blah, blah. But people don't look this up because they see a pretty face onto it of, oh my God, hope, change. Woohoo, we're going to make a difference. Like, no, they're going to do the same shit they've been doing over and over again, which is screw working class people. So unless you're extremely wealthy or within the Democratic Party, it's not going to help you. So it's just stuff that just pisses me off more. But I mean, it's not much there's not much change in that regard that is going to happen unless you get rid, as I said earlier, you get rid of those establishment people in charge of the DNC. You have to really reinvert it and go from those grassroots and really go along the things of what do you want done? What do you really want done? And you don't even have to label it things as like, do you believe in a Green New Deal? Do you believe in this? You can do simple things as, do you want access to healthcare? Do you want your family to have access to healthcare? Do you want your family to have access to education? Do you want your family to have access to clean energy jobs? Do you, like, example, if your family's working in oil, do you want them to transfer that to something in a renewables that we don't be worried about plants shutting down because oil production is down? Example is Chevron laid off a lot of people right now in this area in California because they're not making as much because production is going down because they're going more into renewables. So if you make it into small little things like that, I think that's a good way to actually change and make things better in that regard instead of doing the whole woohoo, here's my little rainbow flag, Mayor Pete's gay, let's put him in charge too because we can do that as well. That's not going to do anything because these people are just like literally spewing things that don't make sense or are not going to change anything.
They'll show Mayor Pete on top of an Abrams tank, like firing off like on a minigun, firing like 200 rounds per minute, and say pride, equality. it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Where the hell are we coming from?
Literally, I don't think he said a single sentence ever that has had any substance to it in his entire life. Like there's a whole video of him I remember doing back a while ago that was like, he can speak multiple languages. I'm like, every one of us here can speak multiple languages.
I mean, so many Americans can barely speak English. I don't even want to get into that. But like, if I could just encapsulate my thing with like, I know I understand, like, you're out there, like, Dan, just get off everyone's dick. Just be happy, be excited that, like, we have a president, Biden, and Donald Trump is going to be on his way out, and we can finally, okay, it won't be perfect, and you won't
Trump shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah, of course Trump shouldn't have happened in the first place, but you know what is coming? Like, do you know the hell that is coming? Stacey Abrams, when she was running, she voted with the Republican Party to overturn a decision in Georgia that made it so the banks who were responsible for pushing out black families in Atlanta where those areas are being gentrified, the banks responsible had to actually pay up for the fact that they wrote all these shitty loans, weren't paying attention to it, none of it was up to standards, and that caused the displacement and the complete wreckage of generational wealth, what little generational wealth had been built for African Americans in Atlanta and the surrounding area. The bankers obviously didn't like that very much, and they worked with the Georgia Republicans to make sure there was a bill overturning that, making sure that we would never want anything to happen, such as the banks have to be accountable for the harm they tangibly do to African American families in Georgia. But an interesting thing to note about that was Stacey Abrams decided to vote in favor of the bill with Republicans, while the other candidate, Stacey Evans, who no relation, who was running against her in the Democratic primary, decided to vote against that because, I don't know, maybe it's something that runs in the family where we decide that bankers shouldn't be fucking us. I don't know, maybe that's just like some weird thing that has to do with the Evans name, that bankers shouldn't be, or actually shouldn't have to be held responsible for dealing with putting black people out on the street. Meanwhile, you have tweets from Melissa Harris Perry, who tweeted, quote, "I'd like to see Joe Biden wash Stacey Abrams' feet with his tears and dry him with his hair." So, like, what the fuck? Like, that's supposed to be our media. Like, what are we doing? This is just fucking idol worship. Like, how, this is barely better than Donald Trump, only, oh, it's a black woman now? Like, the media is so fucking incompetent. You can get a job so easily just by being a hack for any of these people. All they have to do is, like, look at you in one direction, just like, please spit on me. Please, just like, I'll worship the ground you step on. It's so dumb. And like, this is the level of punditry we're getting right now. And like, again, let me go to Joy Reid, because I'm just fucking at it right now. She was tweeting out of all of this, "I say this as someone with no pity for Donald Trump. There's a pathos to his story. Here's a man propped up from day one by a cruel father, a man who couldn't succeed on his own, yet through sheer demographic wealth was awarded wealth and power, only to squander both. Shut the fuck up and stop trying to normalize the fucking psychopath who's responsible for killing babies at the border. You insolent twit. Why are you on MSNBC? Like, I don't get why these people have power and these people are mentioned as the power structures in media because they're so dumb. They're just fanatics. Again, like you said, they're just watching movies out there going, I just wish this could be the fucking West Wing because the West Wing is so much better than real goddamn life. And we've got to completely destroy every single one of these. Like, scorch earth against these media ghouls like Van Jones crying because this is such the greatest thing, crying all the way to his fucking CNN, like, special hotel room paid for himself. Van Jones has completely forgotten about goddamn community organizing, yet we have to look to him? No. Exactly like Bam's saying, all these people need to be scorched earth, gone, completely treated as they're non-existent and irrelevant in media discourse and society. Bam, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back a bit.
Sorry, I blacked out, y'all.
Yeah, we noticed. I'm gonna go back a bit. Stacey Abrams, being the founder of Fair Fight Action, she did help get over 800,000 people registered to vote, and
single-handedly by hand, she did it all by herself. No, it's not true.
No. I'm not saying that, and anybody else saying that is wrong. Like, I don't like just because somebody said that, like, doesn't, I don't know, like,
people saying this are the people in media who are supposed to be informing other people of what's going on. So, like, the informers are getting it wrong is the problem. I'm gonna stop now. I'm so sorry.
I mean, they get shit wrong all the time, so I'm not surprised by that. And honestly, like, I've heard Stacey Abrams talk many times. I'm sure that she would never take credit herself for anything. Like, she was screwed in that election against Brian Kemp, him being the former Secretary of State of Georgia, but whatever. 800,000 people registered to vote. I'm sure a lot of them voted, and it changed what's going on in Georgia. Does that mean that she's perfect or like everything that she voted for or against is right? Of course not. You know, like, I'm not expecting anybody to be perfect or just like everything that I think is the right thing to vote for, like they're gonna do that. Like, I mean, I'm not expecting that out of these politicians, but like, going back to the identity politics, I think the Republican Party plays identity politics more than anybody. Like 100%. They might do it in a way that's not so obvious because it's just white people. And like, for whatever reason, like when we see a person of color, and like, oh, it's identity politics. But no, like, they're reaching out to the white base and they do that with white faces. And nobody wants to call that identity politics. Trump is out here talking about the suburban woman and stuff like that and demonizing Black Lives Matter. Like, that's identity politics. So it's not one side playing that. And I do think representation matters. Like, me and Caesar talked many times, like, I can't imagine there ever being a Black president in Brazil or like anybody like in like, you know, having these people in these high offices in different countries that had slavery too. Like, are you kidding me? The worst thing is that we still got to talk about it. Like, we still got to talk about it. And that's not our fault. That's not the person of color's fault. That we still got to say, like, yeah, it's the first one. That means something. You know, I'm trying not to say whitey, but if I say it once, I'm gonna just keep saying it. But like, they built a country to exclude us. Like,
on my contrapoint,
bar none, they built a country to exclude us. And the fact that we're getting in these places means something.
Yeah, you also have, to that point as well, you can get people of color, people different ethnicities, people different religions as well, with better politics too, with better messages, with better things that will actually produce some change, instead of only going for these votes and stuff, only going for this just because of their religion, race, ethnicities, sexual orientation, whatever. And that happens to Republicans as well.
Yeah, but I don't think that they're doing that only. Like, that's such a blanket statement, and that's assuming that you know every single race that's happening. Like, on a national level, yeah, I don't know what their policies, but all these different places, like, I think it's a leap to say, like, every single race, they're just saying, hey, vote for me because I'm Asian, Like, I don't think that they're doing that. Like, these people are offering policy too. But the fact that, whoa, okay, the fact that we're still having these firsts is because
Oh,
of
it's
the
atrocious.
yeah, and
I mean, look
it
at
means
Germany. At least we have a woman president or chancellor. Christ, we've had for 15 years.
like it means something that there is representation. It would suck if we still like just shit, man. I've never seen somebody that looks anything remotely like me in these high offices. Like, I wonder why. Like that, it means something to have those people there. But that's not me saying like, oh, because they're there, they're perfect, or like I'm gonna vote for them because they're black or whatever. Of course not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not that dense, but it does. But representation is important.
In the shortest way possible, representation matters, but is not enough. And I believe that people like you, Bam, who are very well-meaning and understand like the logical way to come about this, need to be as forceful as possible, more forceful than ever right now in asserting that representation matters, but is not everything. That we need to be looking at that as like a factor, but not the big result. And if we have someone and again, like if we get lucky, we get folks like AOC and Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, who are people of color, but are also progressive as
Ilhan
fuck,
Omar.
and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley, they're progressive as fuck, and they will fight for us. And they happen to be people of color. Then great. Then we've gotten both the test. But I need to. It's not you doing this, but and I will stop here before I go on another tangent. But we need to stop being treated like we're crazy for asking for both. All right, that's the thing.
Yeah, and I don't know who's doing that. Like, I don't know who's like, oh, you're crazy.
Liberals, every Democrat in power,
Liberals,
everyone, every single one,
big time.
Yeah, and like I said, like I've been saying, and Caesar, you're up right after me right now. Like I've been saying, we're fighting against that bullshit too. Like we're fighting against that too. And for whatever is the Democratic Party's faults, the Democratic like the Republicans are so much worse. They don't give a shit about representation. It's a bunch of goddamn they're appealing to the worst instincts of people that are stuck in times where you could lynch me, roast me, and sell my pickled fingers. They're appealing to that. Like they are absolutely appealing to that. There's postcards.
And for folks who keep thinking he's being hyperbolic, there are actually like people hanging in effigy along with Trump 2020 things on people's front porches. Like hangmen on people's porches with Trump 2020 signs all over the country. I have some family members who are saying like they live in like a white neighborhood in the South, and it was getting loud on election night. Like it was getting violent. It was getting violent. Like I can imagine it's tough in that situation. So like I just want to say that.
And once again, they're appealing to a time when Lindsey Graham talking about the good old days of segregation. They're appealing to a time which got no news, by the way. Appealing to a time where someone like myself could be burned, hung, roasted like a pig in Hawaii, and have their fingers and toes pickled in jars. This is real stuff that happened in America with no consequence. The Republican Party is appealing to that history. So like I have no we got there's something better than that shit. There's a lot of people that would be totally down to go back to that reality.
Tell Lil Wayne that.
He'll be the first one.
Caesar, on that note, is there anything you would like to chime in with, or?
Y'all just really hit me at the right times, huh? Everybody goes on the 45-minute tangent. Caesar? Like,
I apologize. I apologize.
No, yeah, I talked to you.
No apologizing. There's no apologizing.
No, don't apologize. Don't be a bitch. Only double down, triple down.
Yeah, triple down. Double down on it, please. I think like millions of points were made in between me talking, but I think the one I was kind of thinking about was you discussing about Stacey. You know, I think I agree. Like, yes, like she wasn't over there in the street like by herself getting people like AOC was in the train station trying to get people to sign up for her to vote her in for her position. Maybe that wasn't happening. Of course, she had a team with her. Of course, like things are going. But to me, at times like this, especially after the 4 years that we went through, I think it's really important as human beings and this like our mental health is to like to focus on what came about through that. Yes, like people came out voted. Yes, they voted blue. Things changed. The swing state flipped. Everything in life needs to be a building block. And you don't build blocks off of breaking the ones right before that you put down. Yes, it's not the first one that was good, but it can lead to another step. If we're gonna take a step towards getting like people like AOC in, obviously it wasn't gonna go work. It wasn't gonna get through the path of another Trump reelected because Trump went through 4 years and the country still didn't want Bernie Sanders. So maybe that wasn't the approach. Maybe the approach Americans need is to be that get their hand held by someone like Biden. Okay, all right. They're like, wait, we can actually get better than what this guy's doing. Okay, maybe that's the approach because radicalness in the beginning wasn't the approach that worked. It actually forced people. It rubbed people the wrong way. It brought division. Things got ugly in this country, and then the other side was like Bam said, appealing to things that were atrocious, disgusting, horrible acts against humans that were living here as well too, that were on this soil as well too. Were getting treated like they were just garbage. So I think the approach we need to have right now is, there's a lot of really shitty things about the Democratic Party that came to light throughout the 4 years that went through. The Democratic Party was very lazy through the approach. Their approach wasn't let's take initiative into this and make sure we're getting the right people in power. They were just like, oh man, like Trump sucks. Like, oh wow, he like really bad. So there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but I think this is the first step towards it. Maybe Stacey wasn't the most Captain America person of all time to help us through the times based upon her past, but for sure she did something that people with squeaky past didn't do, and that's what's important to me. That's the name that came out of it along her team for sure. Thank you for what you did. What you did back then sucked, but hey, appreciate this now. And then we're just gonna build from here. That's my approach because coming as someone that's an immigrant myself, in my country, this isn't happening. In Brazil, this is not happening. In Brazil, our Trump is still leading in polls, leading in numbers, is possibly going to get reelected. So, maybe our approach, maybe bringing Biden in, that's going to, if Trump had the same wave across the world that he did coming in and doing what he did, maybe a Biden leading to someone in the future will bring that same wave around other places too. So that's kind of my outlook right now because I spent so much energy in my life being over this dude Trump and from getting a stimulus package to the things he was saying in the media and the public to his tweets. That was so much energy being upset that like I'm not going to keep that energy until Biden coming in and what was going on in the atmosphere and these whack ass centrists. I'm not going to keep that energy right now. I'm going to definitely focus on building it for the future so we can get new people in and keep working towards it. But I'm not going to keep going with the same damn fire I had on that. Let me just get a day, damn it. Let me get a day. The votes ain't even counted yet.
I am all gas, no brakes. I am literally just, because I've been holding back. I've been holding back all of this criticism and all of this fervor, trying to hold it back. Literally, no, because I was like, okay, Joe Biden might not have this fucker down. He might like need every little extra support he get. I'm like, okay, we're just like, it's until November. That's what we do. But this is the day after. This is when the gun's been fired in the air, and I can go off to the races, and I can then say what I've been wanting to say for the past like 5 months. And like I really do appreciate the fact that you're having this perspective about like it's not that great in a lot of other countries, and I can't wait to at least one good thing honestly about a Biden administration is I think we'll be able to focus more about foreign policy in a more sober context where we're thinking about other countries, because that's what I just want to do and cover on PowerPoint more generally. So I think that's where the connections really come in. It's just the American election has been such a big thing here. But I think every single election, and then this will like kind of lead into like the last segment, but like every single election has like, I've learned many things over the 4 years in between every election, from like Obama being elected to Trump and now this. But usually the election months, something like clicks in me after a while, because it's been some itching feeling that I've been wondering, is this how things are? And the election proves out a result. And too often it's been that I have been too silent in a way. Like I've been saying, it looks like we are seeing history repeat itself, where we're throwing our support behind this very lukewarm Democrat who helped in one situation but has a history that I very question. And I was told during this time, hey, come on, let's celebrate, let's just relax and acknowledge what happened and what good was happening here and look forward in the future. And then the future comes, and we're told that, we believe that, and the future comes, and every opportunity we have to, like, as a progressive left, to hold our hands up and like ask for support or ask a like hand up, we get like our hand kicked and we get like pushed down into the ocean and off the cliff. And so this is almost me saying, like, in preparation for that, this is me the day after the election. Wait till this shit starts happening. Because I know this is going to start happening, and I sound like the crazy person right now because this is the day after, and I can, like, I'm reading the tea leaves and I can see where these, like, goons are about to go politically. And I'm, like, waving the red flag about it, mostly for bragging rights, so I can say I did it at this time. But I can also say that everyone's going to come back around when we realize what side of the issues all of these, like, big Democratic Party heroes are right now. And it's going to be one more notch on the belt of, you see, I know a lot of things don't make sense because politics is complicated and clouded, but if we go with the left and we continue critiquing ourselves and being smart about our movement and our strategy and improving and building upon the successes of the past, we can truly get to victory, and then it'll be overwhelming. There are decades where, like, weeks happen and then weeks where decades happen, is the quote, right? So, like, it's one of those things where it just kind of reaches momentum at a certain level.